Have you ever felt an inexplicable chill while talking to someone? A subtle but intense discomfort, as though something unseen was hiding behind their pleasant smile. Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant minds in psychology, spent decades studying the deepest layers of the human psyche, and what he discovered is unsettling. According to Jung, there is a silent, invisible danger far greater than any obvious aggression, a warning sign we often overlook. It doesn't show up as angry words or harmful actions. Instead, it hides behind charm, kindness, and social perfection. And yet, your instincts may whisper something is wrong. That's because this danger doesn't speak to your rational mind. It speaks to your primal self, the part of you evolved to sense threats long before you can explain them. At the core of this danger is something Jung called shadow projection. The shadow is everything we reject in ourselves, our anger, jealousy, selfishness, fear. We bury it deep in our unconscious, pretending it doesn't exist. But it doesn't vanish. It festers. And eventually, it leaks out, not within us, but directed at others. Have you ever been accused of having bad intentions you never had, of feeling things you never felt? That's not just paranoia or misunderstanding. That could be someone projecting their shadow onto you. They are not responding to you. They are reacting to their own inner darkness, which they see reflected in you. And the scariest part, they truly believe it. Ancient traditions warned about this long before Jung. In Christianity, we're told about the man who points out the speck in his brother's eye, ignoring the beam in his own. Buddhism speaks of the darkened mirror, the delusion of seeing our own flaws as if they belong to others. Today, modern neuroscience confirms that the brain often filters reality to match our beliefs. In the case of massive shadow projection, reality isn't just filtered, it's distorted. You become a character in someone else's nightmare, and nothing you say will change their mind. The more you try to defend yourself, the more they're convinced they're right. So how do you recognize this terrifying dynamic? You'll feel it first in your gut. Something doesn't add up. You feel misjudged, misrepresented. You're being accused of things you never thought or felt. And when you try to clarify, you're met with absolute certainty. No openness, no curiosity, just a wall of conviction. What's really happening is that this person is fighting a war with themselves, and you've become the battlefield. Jung believed that when people cannot face their own inner demons, they unconsciously turn others into enemies. And the more good or spiritual they believe themselves to be, the more dangerous they become. This leads us to one of Jung's most alarming discoveries: psychic inflation. This is not simple arrogance. It's not someone thinking they're better than others. Psychic inflation happens when a person's ego fuses with something far greater, an archetype, a divine role, a universal truth. They begin to believe they're not just a person with ideas, but a channel of the ultimate good. They don't see themselves as flawed, questioning human beings, but as prophets, saviors, or warriors for truth. Their confidence becomes magnetic, their certainty is intoxicating, and others follow, seduced by their sense of purpose. But underneath that spiritual glow is something deeply dangerous. You can spot psychic inflation in how a person handles criticism. If they see disagreement as a personal attack, or worse, as an attack on truth, goodness, or God, it's a sign they are no longer seeing the world clearly. They aren't dialoguing with you, they're defending a cosmic identity. Jung warned that this kind of inflation leads to collapse. The higher a person climbs into their imagined perfection, the further they fall when reality returns. And it always does. But there's another, more subtle mask we must learn to see through. It's the mask of perfect social adaptation. What Jung called the persona. Imagine someone who always says the right thing, always smiles, always acts just the way society expects. They seem flawless, no conflict, no vulnerability, no edges. And yet, something about them feels off, artificial, like you're not speaking to a real person, but to a script. Jung believed that when someone becomes too attached to their persona, they lose connection with their true self. They polish their surface so much that they erase the substance beneath. The problem? The more energy they spend crafting a perfect image, the more chaotic their repressed self becomes. And one day, that shadow explodes. Contemporary neuroscience shows that we have mirror neurons that pick up microsignals of inauthenticity. That's why, even if someone appears perfect, we can still sense something's wrong. We may not know why, but we feel it. A strange discomfort, an unease that won't go away. Jung's collaborator, Marie-Louise von Franz, noted that people who present a flawless image are often the ones who suffer terrifying breakdowns or who commit destructive acts in moments of crisis. The more rigid the mask, the more violent the shadow when it erupts. But perhaps the most chilling pattern Jung identified was something he called archetypal possession. This happens when a person is overtaken by a universal pattern, an archetype, so completely that they lose their personal identity. It could be the savior, the judge, the victim, or the warrior. Suddenly, they are not just acting like this archetype, they are it. Their gaze changes, their voice becomes fixed, their presence feels charged, almost inhuman. You're no longer speaking to a person, but to a force. Traditional cultures knew about this. Shamans learned to channel these energies with great care, but when someone is unconsciously possessed by an archetype, it becomes dangerous. Because they now believe they are speaking for something bigger than themselves, and they cannot be reasoned with. When this happens, the person often gains great influence. People flock to them, drawn by their clarity, their mission, their passion. But Jung warned, the greater the possession, the greater the risk. Archetypes carry both light and darkness. The savior also contains the tyrant. The judge also contains the executioner. When someone becomes one with an archetype, they can no longer see their own shadow. And history shows us what happens when leaders fall into this state. The consequences can be catastrophic. So what is the message Jung left for us? Trust your instincts. When someone makes you feel subtly distorted, when their certainty feels too complete, when their perfection feels too polished, pause. Listen, not to their words, but to your body, to the chill in your spine, the tightening in your chest. These are not just feelings. They are ancient warning systems, and they might be telling you that behind the charm, the smile, and the spiritual glow, something far more dangerous is hiding. Before we say goodbye, have you recognized any of these signals in important people in your life? Or, more importantly, have you detected aspects of these patterns in yourself? If this message touched your heart, write in the comments. Consciousness is the first step toward transformation. Don't forget to share this content with those who need to awaken to the unconscious patterns in their relationships. Activate the bell and subscribe for more explorations of the fascinating Jungian universe.